which is talking about what's going on in Minneapolis. We've been covering the situation with Renee Good, the situation with the person that was shot in California and had their eye blinded by ICE. Now we're going to get into what's going on with the mayor, what's going on with the governor of Minnesota, and we're going to hear from the police chief talking about all the movement that's been taking place in his city with ICE. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. I want to know what y'all think about this in the comments in the chat.
By now, you have no doubt seen many of the scenes from Minneapolis. Immigration agents demanding proof of citizenship, even from some American citizens, protesters swarming as agents make arrests, the fatal shooting of Renee Good by an ICE officer. This past week, we went to Minneapolis and spoke with two men at the center of the crisis, the chief of police and the head of ICE's deportation operation, both veteran law enforcement officers with two very different views of what is unfolding. Tonight, there were 3,000 ICE and Border Patrol agents in the Minneapolis area. That's nearly 5 times the number of police on the city's force, making it the largest ever deployment of federal immigration officers to an American city. 1 week after an ICE officer shot Renee Good, this was the scene on the streets of Minneapolis. Federal immigration agents facing off against angry protesters. It is exactly what Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara feared. He's been tasked with rebuilding trust between the community and police in the wake of George Floyd's murder nearly 6 years ago.
We're in this 2020 moment where all these tensions have been building. And I'm afraid we're going to have another moment where it all explodes.
And guys, let's be real. It's already happened. It's already happened in Minneapolis. We've seen stores broken into. We saw the hotel that ICE was allegedly staying at. It was vandalized by people who were protesting what happened to Renee Good. So again, 2020 is here.
Late Wednesday night, we witnessed the anger ourselves.
It's not a good place to be, bro. Get out of here!
Leave! Leave! Go home! Leave! We are just hours after meeting with the police chief here in Minneapolis, where he told us that tensions were so high he was worried that violence would take place. Something else would happen in this community. You can hear flashbangs behind me. We are now just a few blocks away from where federal immigration agents have been involved in another shooting here in Minneapolis. ICE says one of its officers shot a Venezuelan man in the leg after he and 2 other migrants attacked the officer with the snow shovel and broom handle.
Crazy.
ICE says the 3 men are in the country illegally. The Trump administration says the goal is to crack down on illegal immigration and weed out fraud. They call it Operation Metro Surge. Elected officials in Minneapolis call it an occupation. Administration officials are adamant that this action that they are undertaking in Minneapolis right now is making this city safer.
Targeted, precise, pre-planned operations on violent offenders. That is a good thing. But I'm concerned that people in the administration don't actually understand the reality of what's happening on the street.
Well, the reality is, sir, the people are out of hand. You can't say ICE is doing a good thing, but at the same time say, hey, we're going to let people protest and the mayor's not backing it up. There needs to be something needs to be done.
Chief O'Hara told us the city's 911 system is overwhelmed by complaints about immigration enforcement. What are you seeing?
Seeing multiple calls of people who have been subjected to tear gas, pepper spray.
We need more water.
At least one case, a person was removed from a vehicle and the car wasn't even placed in park and it was rolling down the roadway.
In an ideal world, it is a city on edge. And as we walked with the chief, we heard it from a man in a passing car.
How dare you let this happen here? You should be ashamed. You should be sick. Pig.
What do you want someone like that who just yelled at you and said you let this happen to know?
Well, I have been very publicly saying this has been a risk for several weeks, trying to get anyone in a position of authority to understand that tragedy was imminent.
The fatal shooting of Renee Good by ICE officer Jonathan Ross has become a kind of Rorschach test. Some see a senseless killing. Others see an officer defending his life.
I've seen the videos, and it's not clear to me why he appears to be in the path of the vehicle more than once. When you approach someone in a vehicle in a law enforcement encounter, there's very basic steps you take to ensure the officer's safety and to de-escalate the situation.
And again, We've had this conversation. I've been going back and forth with people in the comments of the videos where I've covered this. Just because something is justified doesn't mean it was necessary. In my opinion, what Jonathan Ross did, shooting at Renee Good, was justified. Was it necessary? I think that's the same thing that the police chief is saying here. I don't believe it was necessary. I think there were things he could have done to avoid that. It's unfortunate she lost her life, but you can also justify it and say that he was legally allowed to do that. He feared for his life. She drove the car towards him. You don't get to pick the consequences. So two things can be true. Unfortunate situation.
But the day after the shooting, Vice President J.D. Vance put the blame squarely on Renee Good.
That it's a tragedy of her own making.
Homeland Security officials have accused Good and her wife of, quote, stalking immigration agents and impeding their work.
Well,
go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Top federal prosecutors in Minnesota resigned in part, sources told CBS News, because they were told to investigate the actions of Renee Good and her wife rather than Officer Ross.
Well,
State
and again, the FBI was investigating into Jonathan Ross.
Investigators were blocked from the investigation altogether. Can Americans trust what's coming out about the status of this investigation right now?
The rhetoric that's coming out from a lot of our politicians is to not trust us, which is very odd to me when a lot of Americans would rather believe what they see on TikTok compared to a government agency.
We spoke to ICE's Marcos Charles, who oversees arrests and deportations nationwide, including Operation Metro Surge in Minneapolis. Could you see why some Americans might think that what's happening on the streets of some of these cities leads them to see ICE as feeling emboldened right now?
I would tell those people or ask those people to become educated on what we do and how we do it and what our authorizations are and the laws in general.
And protest in a civil way. Don't be up in their face, yelling at them, calling them pigs, throwing stuff at them. Come on, it's not that complicated, guys.
Videos of confrontations between protesters and immigration agents seem to go viral nearly every day.
They have a right to observe, record, and object to police activity.
Do they have a right to get in an agent's face and call them a Nazi?
People have a right to say disrespectful things. As a professional, I have an obligation not to take that personally and not to retaliate. However, they cannot physically obstruct law enforcement from performing a function. Those things are illegal.
It's simple, guys. Those things are illegal. They're breaking the law. And the crazy thing about this is not only are they breaking the law, they're breaking the law for what reason? For what reason? Again, I asked this in the chat. We had several people in the chat going off saying this about the Constitution, this about due process, and blah, 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 blah. What do you actually want? What do you guys want? What are you protecting? You heard from the ICE agent. We talked about this the other day. They're out there trying to arrest someone who's in the country illegally and is a child predator. What do y'all want? What's the problem with ICE? I'm still trying to figure it out. I haven't heard that answer from anyone. Not surprisingly so. The way they're conducting themselves in these protests, illegal, interfering with law enforcement, Renee Good. And what are they protecting? I don't get it, man. It makes no sense. It's sad.
Past week, the Department of Homeland Security posted a message from White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller telling ICE agents you have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties. Does that mean that immigration agents can go into American cities and carry out immigration enforcement with no accountability, no consequences?
I'm not going to comment on Mr. Miller's statement as far as in the context that you're asking. However, I will tell you that everywhere we go in the United States, our officers are out there conducting enforcement actions, and they're doing it lawfully and with professionalism.
But scenes like this in Minneapolis, where one officer drags a woman and another points his gun at bystanders, have raised questions about their conduct. No one has been disciplined in any of these actions?
No.
I think a lot of people would be surprised to hear you say that.
If you assault one of our officers, an assault would be putting hands on one of my officers, spitting in their face, pushing them. You're going to get arrested.
Battery.
I don't think most
I don't think spitting in their face is assault. That's more battery.
Americans would disagree with you on that. What concerns a lot of people is some of the images that they've seen. There's a perception out there that immigration agents in Minneapolis and many other cities are acting with impunity.
You're not seeing the entirety of the situation. Not only that, mainstream media is picking up those social media posts and putting them out as real news without looking at the whole story.
I think I'm gonna find the ICE agent and get him on the get him on the channel, because I think a lot of this story is one-sided. It's great to see the police chief saying, "Hey, I get they're there to do a job. People need to let them do their job." Finally, someone's saying this, but at the same time, ICE isn't moving and conducting themselves the way they should be, and I agree with that. I think there's a lot more restraint that ICE could show in a lot of these situations, but you have to give accountability on the other side as well. Say, "Hey, people, you shouldn't be up in their face, spitting at them, throwing snowballs at them. Come on." So if y'all know any ICE agents out there watching this, listen, I support and appreciate what y'all are doing. Send me an email, drop something in the comments, come on up to the channel so we can hear the other side, because for some reason, mainstream media, as was just said by the police chief and by ICE themselves, they're not covering that side of it. And there's a reason for that. We won't get into it too much, but I want to know what y'all think about this in the comments in the chat.